Kalugilingan ni anak kakaksunod.
It's a fabulous show.
Alaska. I heartbeat Alaska.
It's Heartbeat. Alaska. Pull up a chair and enjoy the show.
Hear it from Sitka to Barrow. Gather around for Jeannie's show. It's the Aleut, the Indian, and the Eskimo. It's the Aleut, the Indian, and the Eskimo.
Welcome one, welcome all.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Heartbeat Alaska, Native News and Native Information. Hello, Canadians. Nice to have you with us. If you're ever in Anchorage, Alaska, stop by our studios. Give us a call, 907-563-7440, and I'd love to meet you. Hello to all our good friends across America. Hello to our good friends across Montana. Today's program, we travel north to Unalakleet. It's a beautiful village with ancient history. We also travel to the Pribilof Islands to St. George. It's a fabulous program, and I will be back with Unalakleet, which means the southern end.
I'm working at the lodge, and you're watching Heartbeat Alaska.
Heartbeat Alaska would like to thank the following sponsors for making our show possible. Brown's Electric. Thank you, Brown's Electric, for your generous support. Heartbeat Alaska is also brought to you by Frontier Flying Service. Thank you, Frontier, for getting Heartbeat Alaska airborne.
Heartbeat Alaska is made possible by Inupiaq Carlisle Transportation, your full-service transportation and logistics company.
Scan Home, serving all of Alaska's home and office furnishing needs. Thank you, Scan Home, for making Heartbeat Alaska possible.
We've been covering businesses, families, and individuals since before Alaska was a state. And we'll keep doing it until the glaciers melt on Mount McKinley. Primera Blue Cross Blue Shield of Alaska. We're here. We're with you.
Unalakleet means the southern end. It's a designation, clear directions. Directions that our ancient ancestors used to go for commerce and trade, to socialize. Go with me now to Unalakleet, the southern end.
A lot of people think that Unalakleet means where the east wind blows, but the word Unalakleet is actually an Inupiaq word pronounced Unalakleet. and Unalakleet means from the southern end. Unalakleet is the southernmost Inupiaq community in western Alaska.
Tim Towarak grew up here in this ancient trading place.
From Unalakleet southward, it turns into Oyoumick country. The next community down is St. Michael, and from St. Michael all down, it's all Oyoumick country. We have a lot of Oyoumics that live in Unalakleet, but Unalakleet was originally an Inupiaq town. I mean, Unalakleet, the people from the southern end. Historically, this used to be a trading center where the Athabascan Indians would come in from the interior, and the people from up north, or anywhere up and down the coast, would come to Unalakleet and trade with the Indians.
Researchers have also found house remains near Unalakleet's beaches dating back as far as 200 BC. To put that in perspective, we're talking about Inupiaq walking these beaches as the Roman Empire was just getting started on the other side of the world. If you walk up one of the hills near Unalakleet, it's easy to see why people settled here so long ago. Stanton and Irene Katchatag, two respected elders, explain.
Getting food easier is they chose the place where there is more resources like fish, any kind of other game, and seal for ocean hunting.
And of course, good water. Unalakleet is real good water.
The old ways of subsistence continue in Unalakleet, despite the huge changes of the last 100 years. The people of Unalakleet have watched things come and go like Covenant High. Started in 1954, the school brought in students from all over western Alaska, but since the 70s, it has only been a school of ghosts. There are two roads out of Unalakleet. One leads to Army Hill and the other to Air Force Hill. Both the Army and Air Force had bases here. Now the only reminders of the military are these.
Well, the barrels were brought here back in the 50s when the Air Force came in. They were putting an ACNW site, and they didn't have any storage, so they brought a year's supply of fuel, or at least a year's supply of fuel, to build the roads and build a site. So they brought in hundreds of thousands of barrels of fuel into Unalakleet, and once they were empty, they stored them in a low-level area. And one of the high tides that we had, a high storm, came in and took them and scattered them all over the country here. So, and the IRA Council has been working for years trying to get the federal government, the Department of Defense, to come in and clean up the sites and the barrels, and this is the result of it.
Tim Towarak is the president and CEO of the Bering Straits Corporation. A branch of that corporation is doing the cleanup. Donald Towarak is part of the crew working on the barrel project.
We're over 2,000 now, 2,000 barrels. A little more than halfway done. They expect us to get like 3,300 barrels, so I don't know. Or that's what we're getting paid for, so that's where we're gonna stop, I guess, until next summer.
These barrels were scattered all over, and every 10 feet or so you'd see them, and they're just sitting there rotting all these 40 or 50 years. And it was a very unpleasant sight. Anywhere you went, you'd see these barrels, and to us it almost became natural. I think there are many, many people that are born since those barrels have been there, and they come to think it's part of the country. Well, it's really improved the country here. We used to see these barrels scattered everywhere we go, but it's doing wonders, I think, for the environment. You know, just making it look a lot more natural without any barrels sticking up all over the flats here.
Cleaning up the barrels isn't the only way Unalakleet is healing the wounds of the past 100 years.
The language and culture is important because the students starting off young, they need to learn about their culture and they need to be proud of who they are, and the values that we have had, I mean our ancestors have had, it needs to be carried on. You know, otherwise our community won't be it would be unsafe, or we would fear you know, like respect is a part of the culture, and we learn to respect our land and our people and ourselves, and that's important for our students to learn.
This may look and sound like a typical 5th grade classroom, but these students in culture class at the Unalakleet School are learning values and traditions that many think are the building blocks to a much brighter future for our native villages here and throughout Alaska.
I feel when I first got started here 4 years ago, and I was very proud it's still going on, because the values are so important for them to learn when they're young, and they'll keep it on as they grow older.
Their language, Inupiaq, was forbidden by the missionaries many years ago, and but for a few who held on to the old ways, was nearly forgotten and lost forever.
The language is Inupiaq, but it's the dialect for Towarak. I mean, the dialect Towarak. There's 2 different dialects here in Unalakleet, but we're teaching Towarak, and the reason we're teaching Towarak is because it was dying more than Malamute was. I mean, it wasn't being spoken as much as Malamute, the dialect.
Singing, dancing, beading, carving, and sewing may look like child's play, but there is a growing awareness in Alaska that by learning the ways of the past, today's young people will have a better understanding of themselves and what their role is in the future of their village.
Maybe about 8 years, I think, that they started Eskimo dancing here again. And the reason is so that the students could feel proud of their culture. You know, they could be active in what the culture is about, and Eskimo dancing is a part of the culture, and it's mostly just songs. I mean, they're mostly stories or dances about what someone has done in their life. You know, it's a story. It's not evil or anything.
Flanked by the icy waters of the Bering Sea and a checkpoint for the last great race, the village of Unalakleet struggles to prepare for an uncertain future. Like many Alaskans, they are discovering that the traditions of the past, the language of their people, the wisdom of the elders, now more than ever play a key role in their survival and the survival of all rural Alaska.
I think it's really important that each community continues to teach their language and culture and teach their traditional values, because it does affect their students and the future generations.
What's the whistle for?
To go to the
temple. So if you guys hear me blow it, you need to go there.
It's a 7th grade science class, and we're on a field trip
to obtain samples of plants particularly. And we're going to go back to the classroom and they're going to identify the plant based on what they have. It's going to have the scientific name. And they're going to identify each one for their Eskimo name, the nutritional value if there's some, if it's edible. And if they're non-edible, for example, some of them may have picked up a part of a willow, which is utilized for to dye skin, like on muklaks.
I got a mushroom, some kind of lichen, I think, that was on a log, and a green kind of leaf plant that was growing by some alders.
And then eventually we're going to come up with sharing this information with the Russian kids over in Russia. And the Russian students are going to share similar kinds of things over here. So since we're kind of in the same zone or climate zone, we're hoping to have, if there's similarities, if they notice if there's changes over a period of time. And so that's kind of what the long-term project would look like. And eventually we're going to get maybe 5 of our students to go to Anchorage, and then some of the students from Russia are going to come over, and we're just going to we're going to have an interpreter, and the kids are going to be able to translate what they've learned and share similarities if there's any.
Today we've been learning how to preserve plants for later observation.
What kind of plant is this one? What kind of plant is this one, guys?
Some kind of berry?
Is some kind of berry?
It looks like a wine berry.
It's the wine?
What?
It looks like wine berry.
I'm hoping too that the students will relate with the elders. They need to go back and say, this is what kind of name we used many, many years ago, or even today. And so that they could at least communicate with the elders for that particular plant or plants that they're working with.
We've been looking at the sights of Unalakleet. When we come back, we'll hear a few of the sounds too. Plus, later on, St. George.
Hello, I'm Nelly Katongan from Unalakleet, and we'll be the last call. We'll be right back.
Chamai, Asihtunka. I'm Teresa Capua, a realtor here in Alaska. I was born in Inupiaq, Alaska, a beautiful commercial fishing village. I really love working with people, helping them meet their real estate needs. So when they find the place they want and we get a closed deal and seeing their joy, that really is a wonderful feeling. Danks to Kumpkin, Jali.
I'm waiting because I don't want to get a disease.
I have a future ahead of me, and I don't want to mess up my life.
If my husband asks me if he's the first, I want to say yes.
Yes. Because I respect myself. I have so much going for me. A child would only slow me down.
I'm trying to break a cycle.
Sex is a very special thing I only want to share with one person.
There are too many consequences to STDs.
The union between two people.
I would always regret it.
I'm protecting my heart.
Waiting doesn't make you less of a man.
I'm waiting because it's the most precious gift I can give.
Just as the kids are heading back to town.
Well, good afternoon. It's about 7.5 minutes after 3 on this really beautiful Friday afternoon.
Henry Ivanoff Sr. is at the controls at Unalakleet's radio station, KNSA. And the view from this radio station isn't half bad. It's a view Henry's been looking for his whole life.
It was always my goal to move back home. I moved back here in 1978 and 82. I started building the radio station, and we went on there at 85. Wanted to request going out to Sonia Simpson in Elam.
And by NMM with
cleaned my closet, and Robert Simpson said to Sonia, say, I love you.
Unless you're an Iditarod musher, this is probably how you'll first see Unalakleet.
I have no snare in my headphones.
I'm a pilot here at Tagline Aviation, Unalakleet. Just something I want to do since I was a kid. Went to flight school in Anchorage, got all my licenses, came over to Unalakleet.
Unlike many pilots in rural Alaska, Tim Sagoonick doesn't view his job as a stepping stone to a bigger airline. He's here to stay.
And I know all the people in the area, and I enjoy flying here. Now just go after your dreams, and do your best. You can make things happen.
One of the other ways to get around this part of Alaska is by skiff. This is John Wilson. He's the chief of police in Unalakleet. He's just about to go upriver with his family. As chief of police, John gets to see the worst side of Unalakleet firsthand.
It's got its times, you know. There's a lot of alcohol-related calls, most of them. Over 90% of our calls are alcohol-related, which is sad for them.
Despite all that, this is still where John wants to raise his family.
I sure do. I have 3 kids, and my wife's from Norvik, and she moved down here with me, and we've been living here. I've been living here 28 years, and I just love it here. It's a great place. Kids grow up in a good environment. No, I wouldn't say no alcohol, but you know, less in the big cities. But it's a good place to live for a family.
Well, where are you guys going to camp at?
What all these people have in common is that they left Unalakleet for a while. They were drawn back here, some by family, some by dreams, some by the children. Some to solve problems. All of them came back here because there is no place they'd rather be.
Hi, my name is John Wilson. I'm from Unalakleet, Alaska. You're watching Heartbeat Alaska.
Each week, Heartbeat Alaska brings you great stories from all over the state. And we couldn't do it without the generous support of Frontier Flying Service. Frontier gets our camera crews where they need to go. So whenever you see a Frontier plane, give them a wave.
Say hi from Nuxet.
You might just be on Heartbeat Alaska.
Frontier Flying Service, covering Alaska for over 50 years.
Hi, I'm Lisa Zam with Alaska Family Hospice, your home in the city. We would like to invite you to stay with Alaska Family, located right next to the Alaska Native Medical Center. We will have a new addition for our special prenatal guests, a beautiful prenatal home. Call to make your reservations. This fall and winter, every guest is entered in a very special drawing every week for gift certificates, and in December, a grand drawing. So the next time you're coming to Anchorage, stay with Alaska Family, your home in the city.
an island of rugged beauty, an island of mist, a home to countless birds from all over the world. Hundreds of miles out in the Bering Sea, St. George Island is one of the most remote places on the planet. But for about 150 people, it is the only place they'll call home. Healthcare in such a remote place is not easy. What would be a minor problem in a big city can become an emergency out here.
Well, right here is one of our exam rooms, exam room 1.
Georgia Kashevarof works hard to keep the small clinic on St. George up to date and staffed. But it's not easy to recruit qualified people from so far away.
We have been seeking the past 2 years for a full-time PA, physician assistant, and we're still trying to secure, if not a physician assistant, nurse practitioner, RN, registered nurse to cover our clinic, and it's been pretty hard.
St. George is an old village full of quaint old buildings, but there's nothing quaint about outdated and run-down medical equipment.
As you see, this is an old x-ray machine, and it has a tendency to short out.
The St. George Traditional Council raised $470,000 for new equipment in their clinic, but they needed a little more. With such a clear need, public support in the community, and a traditional council ready to support the clinic, the Denali Commission saw a great opportunity to help. Through a program called Fast Track, the commission was able to get $57,000 to the clinic in a very short time.
We're getting a new oxygen filtration system because we have to send out our oxygen bottles, and that costs a lot of money.
Fast Track allows projects with a good plan and strong community involvement get their funding in a matter of months rather than years.
We'll be also getting a new stretcher with an IV pole attached to it.
It was a little help at just the right time for an island that is working hard to make their corner of the world a little brighter.
The Denali Commission, Alaskans working together to build a better Alaska.
Thank you for watching Heartbeat Alaska. Thank you, Ferno, Tweedo, and Stephanie Keller, and everyone else in Unalakleet for your help in this story. We had wonderful hospitality when we were there, and we're very, very thankful to you. And thankful to you, too, for joining us for another Heartbeat Alaska. And if you like the St. George segment, look for Heartbeat in the future. We have a whole program on St. George. Until next week, I'm Jeannie Green. For all of us here, God bless you, and we'll see you next week.